All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. It is the time stop day here for JP Morgan, and we do not have another trigger on the board to go get into. I'll show you some of the stuff that's out there. I traded one of them. I'll show you what I traded, but as far as just triggers for the challenge, nothing on the board here. So let's go take a look at JP Morgan. And, this is one where, look, I could make either decision, right? This is kind of where we get into the gray area that we talk about, with the challenge, this kind of time stop, whether it's 5 days or 6 days on the green. And I could hold it and, I could justify, getting on out. And I don't think there's an incorrect decision when it comes down to it. Now, obviously, if we judge by what happens tomorrow and the next day, yes, there is an incorrect decision. There's there's always, one of those types of things. But, when we look at the overall market, we look at kind of where things are sitting, we look at just everything else, there's nothing that's kind of overwhelming one way or the other. And, it's something where I go, okay, do I want to err on the side of a little bit more conservative or err on the side of a little bit more aggressive? And, it's just one of those things, right? And for, those that follow each and every trade that I make, right? Obviously, you'll do what I do, but, for those of you who, like to trade your own thing, feel free to, to do your own thing here with it, all right? So anyway, that's, so here's JP Morgan. If we look at it, here in today's action, just nothing much. I've been stalling a little bit as it upticks here, just a little bit, but not a whole lot, really in today's action. We have bonds on the move here. And whatnot. So I'm going to come back here to JP Morgan. I want to give it a little time to make this uptick here and see kind of where that lands. But on the scans here today, downside crossovers, Procter & Gamble, Verizon, Facebook, Disney, Alibaba. I thought Disney had a shot to trigger. It didn't trigger, though, here on the bearish side. So, not going to do anything there with it. But I would not be surprised to see kind of an end-of-day rally in Disney and then a crossover tomorrow morning. And then on the upside, Caterpillar, which I mentioned this morning, had a chance to trigger. It didn't. Consolidation risk just a little too high on it. Dollar General, same thing. This thing is just kind of sat. It gapped up just slightly here, but just sat all day. And then Schlumberger and Valero, which lesser chance of possibly triggering here today. So we have about equal number of upside crossovers as downside crossovers, out there, and nothing that's overwhelming one way or the other. All right. I've stalled long enough. It is time to take off JP Morgan. So I'm going to err on the side of conservative. And you say, well, why not be more aggressive and all of that? We could, right? We could. It's one of those where I have leaned on the side of conservative in many of these situations. So 375 is my exit price there. Okay. Let's go and fill that in here. 375. But I've erred on the side of less aggressive early in the challenges. And as we get up over 6-7 grand, then I'll err on the side of a little bit more aggressive, right? And let's pop that price in there. Make sure the alert goes out. So 375 was the exit price. You probably get a little bit better, but made about 450 on JP Morgan. Lost about 300 on Procter and Gamble. So it didn't really net us much here, in terms of the trade. But anyway, leaves the challenge here at about 38.21, so just shy of four grand, and holding on to a position in GOLD. All right, 211 is our exit, so right on our green time stop. And off and rolling. Okay. All right. I was asked about Procter and Gamble here, and Procter and Gamble, we exited yesterday, with the time stop, and look, I mean, there's a reason the time stops are there, and I totally understand. I get bumped out on a time stop on Starbucks, and then off it chases, right? And there have been many of those cases where I've been knocked out on a time stop, and then the stock just goes, and I get told about those, and it's great. I'm very happy for those that hold and are in it. But one of the reasons why the time stops are there is because the metrics have shown that once you get into those time stop areas, the probabilities, the odds change dramatically. And so, yeah, we can get one that, rips and stuff. But when something dips like this, like Procter & Gamble, had I not observed the time stop yesterday, it just is one of those where you go from a very small loss to a very big loss, rather quickly. So, we had the 6th of March 126 calls, right? Let me show them to you here. But the 6th of March 126 calls, which aren't anything too dramatic. But now they're sitting here at about $1.20, right? They're at about $1.20 when we popped them off at about just under $2 yesterday. So about a 40% drop from the 1,000 that we took out of it. So down there to around 600. Those types of losses just simply early in a challenge, just sting, right? Every loss stings a little bit. Heck, some wins sting. But in all, it is a matter of playing the odds, not playing what do I think the stock's going to do next, right? And it'll continue to be that way, and we'll continue to kind of roll with it, in that manner. And occasionally we'll get a JP Morgan situation where it's not as cut and dry as Procter & Gamble, right? Where, I could hold it, I could justify that hold, and, I probably should hold it, right? I probably should hold it, but, am moving on there from it. Now, I mentioned that there's no new signals on the board, but I did go out and grab something. I went and grabbed some Halliburton. And, this doesn't have a crossover or anything. Schlumberger does, right? It has that 3-7 crossover. But the idea with this is very, very simple. Buy with a stop on today's low, right? Here we've had Halliburton. It pulled back for 3 days, right? Today it is closing above the high from yesterday. So I can go out and set up a good risk-reward scenario, just buying it with a stop on today's low. And there are quite a few of these, and a lot of these kind of little kind of uptick stocks that have been lagging. This is an easy way to play them from a risk-reward standpoint. But again, it's not a high probability standpoint, meaning I'm not sitting here going, well, the odds are overwhelming, like 80% that it goes higher. No, it's about a 55%, when you break down the candle pattern and everything else. So, I don't have the odds dramatically in my favor, but if it goes my way, the reward is significantly greater than the risk, and I have an easy out target there for it. So, am running here with that. Okay, and there are a lot of those types of things out there in the market today. Now, as far as the market goes, up about 11 points. I don't think you can make too much out of what the market's doing here today. The S&P hitting a new high. The IWM is not, right? We have seen this lag a little bit, but we do see China snapping on back to a new kind of 2-week high here, and putting away a lot of the fears of the coronavirus. Now we know